Okay, I'll take just a second to go live. There's always that awkward pause. You probably dealt with
Hmm.
this on other webinars, right?
Oh yeah.
So I think we're up and running. I think we're live. I usually talk for a second of just babble just in case we're not live. But I've got new friend, Randy, who I literally just met within the last couple weeks. And he knows people that I know, and he apparently lives very close to me. He's one of the few higher end Lion Desk executives, and just randomly he lives close to me. This is just like serendipitous luck. Most of your executives are like West Coast or all over the country, right?
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, so our headquarters is in Carlsbad, California,
Okay.
and we have a couple different satellite offices. A lot of people these days obviously work from home as well. But yeah, I am here in Michigan. I wish that the warm weather had come around a little bit sooner, but yeah.
Cool, man. Well, just tell everybody who you are. I mean, I invited you because I have so many people asking me about CRMs in general, and what is Lion Dash? Should I use it? Tell folks who you are. I mean, you're not just like some call center like sales rep guy that's going to try to talk anybody. I mean, you're pretty much a high level guy at Lion Desk, and your CRM is huge in the agent community. So that's like four questions, and that's how I roll on interviews. If you never watched me
Yeah,
before,
it's okay. It's
I
all
gave
right.
you a while to talk. So
Yeah, so I handle the business development for Lion Desk. I work for Lion Desk. I work directly with the management team of establishing higher relationships within organizations. Typically, a lot of C-suite people within the real estate community, both on the residential side, the mortgage side a little bit, title as well. So our CRM platform services the real estate space and was initially designed for the real estate agent. And over the past couple of years, it's really just grown into just a really big, fast-growing CRM that's being used by thousands of people across the U.S. in pretty much every sector in real estate for the most part. So
how
that's
many?
really
I
what
mean,
we are.
yeah, I know it's probably confidential, but I mean, you guys have really jumped into that space heavy, and it's like I don't know what the
Yeah.
actual numbers are, but I mean, you guys have like over 50,000 agents using your product.
So I mean, not not that many, but yeah, I mean, we've grown a lot. Like David set out, he's a technologist, and he came from a different industry, but was in the CRM space. And one of the biggest things that people have problems with when you're talking to, consumer to consumer type of interaction, right, is that sales and marketing process and the follow up. And there has to be better ways. And there's a lot of different programs and there's a lot of different things out there that'll help you, but these things are always changing. And as these things change, companies don't change with the times. And at that time, there wasn't a lot of programs out there that seemed to be evolving with the times and utilizing modern conversion tactics and tools to do it. They were relying on stuff that was old and antiquated and just didn't look that good, and obviously wasn't mobile friendly, and there was an app. So a CRM that's built for 2017, 2018, utilizing the way that people actually communicate today was what David set out to do. So sales and marketing and follow-up tools for the sales professionals.
I dig it, man. So I even though I recently met you, you were introduced to me through a real estate agent who was trying to get his team interested, and it was a real estate agent who I had introduced to Lion Desk, and it kind of came through this whole progression of me talking to loan officers, trying to figure out, is there a solution to the real estate agent's problem? I was trying to solve their problem before I was trying to solve my own problem. Is there a solution for realtors that isn't going to break their bank, that they can figure out without having to get an IT degree or a 14-year-old, and that can perhaps have text and video integrated? And, we bounced a bunch of things back and forth. I leaned on some millennial friends of mine, a guy named Evan Wade, who he'll say he's smarter than me. I'll say I'm smarter than him. I'm just kidding. We actually both say the opposite. But I'm not good at figuring out this tech stuff sometimes.
Mhm.
And it takes a village sometimes to figure out what CRM to use in the loan officer community. If you watch groups like this, and I'm sure you watch different chat boards, you talk to people all over the
Oh,
country,
sure.
that's like the number one question. What CRM do I use? What CRM do I use? Is it pre-programmed? Is it going to solve the magic, email mystery for me? Does it have the automatic easy button that fills up my bank account? And you and I both know that there's no easy button on any CRM.
No.
That relationships are the key to really winning. But if we don't stay in front of our customers, we forget who they are. We forget how to follow up. We don't brand ourselves. We don't get our face in front of them in today's world. We're just leaving buckets of money on the table. So talk about what's the whole theory behind how do I take an agent that has no knowledge of the CRM to get them to the point where they're using this in a few simple steps a day to really fill their pocketbook? Because that's what I like to answer first. I care about all the LOs in this network, but I think if I can help the LOs help the agents, it's going to help all of us. We'll all agree on that.
Yeah. So first and foremost, the best CRM that you can get is the one that you actually use, right? Like
I didn't say that. I didn't prompt him to say that.
Let's address that, right? Like if you have an Excel sheet, like I've met people that are just killing it and crushing it with an Excel sheet, right? Like it comes down to persistency and consistency, right? Like constantly doing the follow-up, the reminders, right? There's people, I don't know if you remember the tickler files that the old sales and motivational gurus used to talk about, where you take a filing cabinet and you put 30 folders in it and you have your lead sheets, and you basically every day you're going through a different folder and you're putting the person to the back and following up every 30 days, that analog way. Like that works, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of things out there that will help. And there's products and tools like LionDesk out there that can help automate a lot of those things and make it easier. But all of those things absolutely work at the end of the day. So for somebody who's just starting out, like a lot of people spend a lot of time and resources on generating traffic or trying to get leads, right? And they go to portals like Zillow and all of these different places, and traffic is one of the number one areas that most people struggle with. How do I get leads, right? But if you just get your license, whether it's in the real estate industry or real estate agents or the mortgage game, the first thing that they tell you is work your sphere, right? So how can you consistently and persistently, constantly be reaching out to your sphere as well? You can do that utilizing a CRM type of platform where those people are in programs, you're keeping track of the data and constantly being reminded to follow up with them. And the more that you can follow up and be in contact and be in front of, the more that you can bring hopefully value to them and get that face-to-face connection where they wind up being a customer for life. So if you only have, let's just say 20 contacts, right? You're not doing lead generation, you're not buying leads or anything like that. Like utilizing a CRM is a really good way to constantly be in front of them to increase referrals and increase repeat business by just being there, right? And there's surveys that have been done by NAR and by Zillow and all these places of how few people do repeat business with real estate people. And it's not because it was a bad experience. They just don't know where that person went. And they spent a lot of money and a lot of time trying to get this person, right? They did a good job. Why is it when they, decided to have another baby and they were going to upgrade to a 3-bedroom, they didn't use Charles again, right? Mm-hmm. It's just because they didn't know where Charles was, yep. Right? And if Charles was just sending a monthly email or a little picture or a card or just constantly giving them a little nudge, even friending them on Facebook and liking their stuff, right? Now, that matters.
I love it. I love how you said that. And that brings up a great story. I sometimes get my message across better in stories. And of course, they're all my stories. I'm a selfish person sometimes. I try hard not to be. But our friend Jerry, the one who introduced me to you, did, I think, 50-some real estate transactions last year, one of the better agents in his office. And he was trying to come up with some better systems. He did some coaching with different real estate trainers. He did some training with me, some of the classes I was trying to help realtors with. And I'm not going to say I helped him that much, but I do remember talking to him a lot about LionDesk. And one of his initial strategies that he came up with as coach, and he and I had talked about a lot, was revolved around the concept that a lot of real estate agents forget to break down their leads. And they've got leads in different categories. You've got like an A list people that you, like you just mentioned, you know really well, they're very likely to refer somebody to you. They're very likely to come back to you, but you don't have a special separate place to put them. Then you have like a B list, people that you kind of sort of know. I mean, there may be prospects, but you may only get a deal out of one out of every 10 of them. And then you got like those C lists, those people that are just, you have no clue who they are, but you don't want to lose their contact information because you heard you should send them emails and stay in front of them, right? I mean, that's kind of like your long-term database.
Yeah.
So, Jerry's number one step wasn't figuring out the magic email sequence and video sequence for that C list. And that's where I see a lot of LOs in this group spending their time talking about. We spend all this time talking about, hey, is there a sequence of Lion Desk? Is there a sequence of Django? Is there, what do I do with these incoming leads? I've already got my stuff programmed out with top of mind for my current clients, but what do I do with this cold stuff? How do I convert these leads? And, what I keep gravitating back to after conversations with loan officers and real estate agents is a lot of us as loan officers and realtors are leaving a ton of money on the table by missing that A list.
Yeah.
And even though you think you might have that A list in a CRM, like you said, if your CRM is just automated and it's just dripping them, don't forget to set the clock back and wave the flag. It's flag day. It's cool. You're going to stay in front of them, but did you really build a relationship with them?
Right.
Now you build a relationship in today's world online without talking to people.
Yeah. And it's
now how do you do that?
Yeah. So you got two questions in there, right? So
I know. I always do that. I'm a curveball guy. I told you this is going to be a tough one, man, but I knew you could handle it.
The very first thing that I always recommend, and we're all guilty of this, right? Like we're all, I hope everybody, who is watching, like we're always trying to get better, right?
Mm-hmm.
The very first thing that I recommend doing, right, is before you get crazy, like you were talking about with Jerry, wondering about what the magic message is getting everything organized, right?
Yep.
Whether you've been in the business a short period of time or been in it a long period of time, like having an organizational method or strategy in place to put everybody into what I call these different funnels, right? So these different like buckets of people, A, B, C, right? Those are past customers. Maybe you have your cold, right? You're going to have different strategies for each one of them, right? Your approach and how you speak to them and convey message to them, but getting everything organized and sorted out and being able to access clean data, right, is one of the most important things that you can do. So if you worked with somebody who bought a house, right, let's just say, your message should be to them, like about the relationship that you had or the buying process that you walked them through. And now that they've bought a home, if they want to learn about that selling process, whatever it winds up being, right, you need to put these people into different funnels, right? The next part is connecting with people. And I think it's really important to focus on the micro moments, right? That's what I call like little connector points that you've connected with somebody already. And I'm talking about, let's just say, your A list of past customers. Always be keeping track of these little tiny things. Like, don't be so transactional. Like, if you go into this caring and want to seriously help people and bring value to them, right? Like, you need to sincerely care. And, just little things by keeping track of notes and friending them on Facebook and Instagram and all these different places and reaching out to them and talking about relevant stuff versus generic is going to make that bond even better. And you're going to be able to build a much better relationship on actual substance than just trying to regurgitate data. We've all seen the guys who sit behind the desk in the old suit and talk about the market update, right? Mm-hmm. Who cares? Most people don't care, right? They want to know about like what's going on in the town. They want to know that like there's other things that you can do to continue that relationship and to bring more value than talk about market updates, right? Like I think that's like the old way of doing it. And because of stuff like this and social and texting and all of these different things, you can make way better, deeper connections with people in a lot less time utilizing these type of tactics, right? Like as an example, do you feel like being on Facebook and Instagram, do you follow people and you consume a lot of their content and you almost feel like you know them. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Even though you haven't met them,
my
right?
partner in this group, TJ, who I did a bad job of inviting to this hangout, but we both got it. We're running at 100 miles an hour.
Sure.
Ideally he'd be with us because a lot of the stuff we share together, but we talk about this concept all the time about creating a show for yourself because that's what other people are doing. They got their own show going. I mean, like we got a good friend down in Jacksonville named Andrew Cady who I feel would have won in the mortgage business no matter what the decade or time was, or whatever the model was. You could have basically told him he only had conventional loans 20% down, he would have won. He's a hustler, but he's created this epic mortgage guy brand lately, and people just kind of tune in to see what he's got to say because it's like this channel. It's on Instagram, it's on YouTube, it's on Facebook, and here's the epic mortgage guys popping up again. So yeah, we see that all the time. I see my mortgage friends that are doing that, and then everyone wants to be like them. And this guy was like some giant social media coach in California, Mary or something, had him up on the screen the other day. She's like, "Oh, this is the coolest guy ever." I'm like, "I knew that guy back when he closed one unit a month, like 2 years
Right.
ago, like
Right.
not even that long ago." And now he just made like 60 grand in 1 month, and he's out on the fishing for sharks and stuff.
Yeah,
But
it's never been easier, right? Like because
mhm,
of the tools, the cell phone in our back pocket, social media, tools like LionDesk and all these other things, it's really never been easier to close volume, right?
mhm,
If you have a strategy in place, and again, if you're just constantly going, that persistent, consistent routine, right? And seriously trying to bring value, right? Being less transactional and just constantly be adding value, adding value, adding value, you're going to get a lot more business.
absolutely. One thing you mentioned before I kind of totally overtook the conversation, I apologize, was when you've got past clients that you're communicating with, how you've got a set of notes going. Now, one of our good friends, Adam Smith, who's currently at a video marketing conference with Brian Stevens in California, they're doing some really cool stuff out there. Um, Taught many of us his personal CRM strategy, and I believe it was a Joe Stump strategy, definitely a real estate strategy from years ago. And it was quite simply keeping notes in Outlook and programming reminders for himself personally to dial people. It wasn't even like email. It was just a calendar setting of reminders done in Outlook. Now, in LionDesk, you have a very similar setup with your app. I do a bad job explaining that. I need to work on trying to explain that better to loan officers and agents. Can you explain how that part of the tool alone can help your loan officers just in like a half an hour every morning stay in front of their best referral sources?
Yeah, for sure. So like you're talking about the conversational process, right?
Yeah.
Like so inside the application or inside of Outlook, whatever it winds up being, you want to have every single interaction or as many as you possibly can keep track of, right, in one detailed place. So you see the history of every single thing that's transpired, right, so that you can call upon. Again, more interaction and those more conversations that you have, hopefully the deeper connection that you're making with that individual as well, right? So utilizing LionDesk as a place to keep track of your inbound and outbound emails and your text messages and videos and campaigns and your phone conversations. We're not recording your phone, obviously, but just keeping track of all of that in one place. And then from there, if there is some type of action that needs to be taken, right? From there, easily setting quick reminders, quick follow-ups, and things like that. Or pre-scheduling, meaning that somebody says, "Hey, would you follow up, in 2 months?" Some people aren't the greatest at doing that follow-up, so you can go in and you could actually write an email and have it pre-scheduled to go out, and then give you a task reminder that says, "Hey, I sent out the email to Sally Smith that wanted me to follow up." So at least you know that, oh yeah, right? Like she told me to follow up. I did it the day that she told me. This is just a reminder saying it already went out, right? So
Yeah,
kind
so
of,
it could be call Sally Smith, and this is exactly why I asked this question. The email could go out in the morning. Hey, Sally, I remember we were supposed to talk today, and maybe it has some notes for Sally before the call. so she's ready for the call and a reminder for the call and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
of course, Line Desk isn't the only system that does this. Adam used to do it through Outlook, but so many of those other CRM tools have limited capacity in other areas. And that brings me to some of the things that I mentioned before we started the call, which to me are really the pieces that I think make Line Desk cool. And it's the integration capability, the video capability, and the texting capability.
Yeah.
I've got my own opinions on that, but I want to hear this raw. I don't
Yeah,
want to.
so communication has changed, right? Like back in the day, we used to write way back in the day, right? Before you and I were probably around, like letters were the main form of communication, right? And from there, then another thing was introduced, the phone, and we started doing that, and less letters were being sent, and less letters, you know what I mean? Like, so we're always communicating differently. We're going through these stages, and typically marketers are the ones that ruin this, right? And same thing comes with email, right? Like, do you remember probably 10 years ago when you got an email, like you would just read it, right? Like, oh, I got an email, I got to read it, right? And now we get so many emails, we never get to them. And we look in our inbox and we have 500 or 50 or whatever it is, unread emails. We got newsletters coming in. We have all of this stuff, right? Basically cluttering up that we don't spend that much attention or pay that much attention to. But you have things like text messages and instant messaging, which you have a 97% open rate. So how many unread text messages do you have right now? Typically none, right? Like people respond and read those things quickly, or IM, versus email that has a 10% open rate. I'm not discrediting email. Email still absolutely works, right? But if you're not communicating with your clients utilizing modernized technologies, you're certainly missing the boat for sure, and getting your message around. The next thing that we're moving into is this video and voice, right? Like that's kind of where it is. If we look at Facebook as an example, Facebook before had all kinds of different stuff on there, right? And now if you pull up your feed, it seems to be predominantly video, right? I was looking at this and I had a conversation about this earlier this afternoon with a broker. Like it's just nothing but video. So if video is not part of your strategy, whether it's video email or video texting, you're definitely missing out because people are consuming way more videos. And
Yeah, Zuckerberg said that. He came out and said that it was last week or 2 weeks ago. And
it's just way more effective, and that's what people are getting used to. And voice is another thing that's coming down, right, with Alexa and Google Voice and skills, and there's all kinds of different communication tools that are out there. But when you're putting together a campaign, you should be using what's called the blended campaign, okay? And what a blended campaign is it's a combination of email, phone calls, maybe print, right? Text messages, video emails, video text messages, right? So you can put one person into a campaign and you can automate that entire process over the next 12 months of sending them an email, a video email, a text message, a video text message, a phone call, right? You can do that because you're going to get things and get people at different points, and different people communicate differently. So by incorporating a blended campaign, it's just a much better way to stay relevant, stay current, and more than likely convert a lot more deals.
I like it. Now, for the real estate agents and for the lenders, there's a couple things that they always ask, at least when they're asking me or when I see them talking about Lion Desk. And I've been throwing 2 or 3 questions at a time, but usually there's synergistic questions.
Yeah, for sure.
One of them is that concept of having their team or a lender and an agent having access to the same database to work contacts or leads together. And the other one, now we'll make that a separate question. Let's go with that one first, the team concept.
Yeah, so in order to expedite things, right, keeping everybody on the same page without having to call and text message and send emails is definitely something that you're going to want to do, right? And inside of Lion Desk, there is a team functionality where you guys can be sharing things and sharing messages and conversation so that everybody's on the same page at all times, right? As well as tasking and managing that process, kind of who's responsible for what. So to create a transparent roadmap or history of working with a client by utilizing a collaborative tool, right, that is flexible, something like Lion Desk or whatever it winds up being, like you can effectively do it probably with a Google Suite, right? You'd have a lot more work that you'd have to do, but you could go in and you could create like in a Google Docs, right? You could create a folder and put an Excel spreadsheet in, you know what I mean? Like you could hack it for sure. But our system is kind of set up that way to keep everybody on the same page if that's your intended process. So not only LOs, but title companies, processors, and agents to do so, right? And I know that there are some limitations state by state on stuff that can be shared and can't be, but for the most part, you get it, right? At least you're communicating through Lion Desk, right?
Yeah, and I think I'm seeing this as kind of a newer thing. I mean, the LOs are starting to jump in on this. So many of us are of the I'm going to call it the easy button mentality. You know, like, can we find something that's done for us that solves all of our needs, where we don't have to learn anything new, and we can just pay somebody else to solve our problems? You know,
Yeah.
if you got enough money, you don't have problems, right? That's that kind of theory. You can just pay somebody else to do it. But the challenge with that is that the authenticity and the solutions that come through as cookie cutter in a very complex world are not always ideal for every single team in every single setting.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm not a big fan of that kind of stuff. Like there's companies out there that will do like your posting for you, right? As an
mhm,
example, you've probably
mhm.
seen that, and it's kind
Yeah,
of
you
just
talk about that a lot. Yep,
it's kind of like regurgitated stuff where,
yep.
you know, I'm not discrediting that stuff, but at the same time, again, you're losing that authenticity behind who you are and the message that you're trying to portray. I personally think that you're better off even getting in front of your video camera and making a quick little video and putting it on Facebook once a week, right? Than having stuff posted every day. You know, the 16 DIY tips that
Yeah,
you should do this summer, you know? Like
we talk about that a lot in
why
our
not just
there's
make
a
a
lot of
video,
yep.
put it on your page, and then
Yep.
spend $5 or $10 to boost it out to your potential
Mhm.
target, right? When I first started doing videos, you know, a few years ago and like putting them on YouTube, like I was really bummed out because like I thought that I made a really good video and I thought that I was trying to help, and there was like 3 views, right? And then like I was bummed about it and I kind of like wanted to not do videos, and then I kept doing them, but I went back to that one video and it was like every couple days I was like checking it and it would be like 20 views and 30 views and 50 views. And then finally it was at like 300 or 400 views. It was my very first video. I was saying ums all the time and using, you know, like just not doing a very good job. And
I still do, like 3 years later. I do it
yeah, like,
all the
I mean,
time.
that
Like I'm like grabbing my
I don't know
face and
what
stuff.
I'm doing with this, you know, like being on video. So anyway, and the point that changed my perspective on it was there was like 500 views on it, and my buddy Eric was like, "Dude, do you know how long it would have taken you to for 500 people to like listen to you for 2 minutes?
Mhm,
You know how many phone calls it would have
mhm. Yep,
taken, right?
yep,
Because voicemail 90% of the time, right?
yep, yep,
Set an appointment like
yep.
that was where my mind shifted with the power of this stuff, right? So,
Totally.
and now that video I think it's only got maybe 1,000 or so views on it, but like that was my first video, and
Now, Ryan, this is a trick. This is not a trick question. Have you and I talked before outside of this hangout?
no, like, well, I mean,
Because
other
what you
than,
just said has been on like 5 of our hangouts. We talk about this all the time. Almost everything that you said is identical to what we've been
well, now
preaching
I'm not
for
bringing any
years.
value to anybody.
Well, it must be true. If everybody finds the answer from different sources, you know, it's not like a group thing. People are discovering this all over America, and that's part of the reason why I really wanted you to come on. And you know, the agents need to get this too because they're complaining about losing their share to Zillow, and TJ and I always talk about Zillow killer. You gotta be able to build a brand. You gotta be recognizable. People will recognize your emails here and there, but they start seeing your face. They start seeing you talk, like you just said. You're saying and ah a lot. I'm doing the same thing. I brought one of my friends on earlier this morning who was afraid of video. I forced her to get on camera. Oh my gosh, did I look okay? Did I sound okay? I mean, all the time. I watch my videos after I'm done and I say, oh my God, I can't believe how many times I said like and and I had run on sentences and I pick my hair, and I had all these nervous habits. I was wiggling around in my chair, and my camera didn't work. But at the same time, I've got loan officers all over the country. Oh, yeah, Fish, I know who you are. I walk around in my hometown. I run into people. Oh, yeah, you're that Facebook guy. You do mortgages. I don't know these people. They know me from watching the videos that I put out on pages and groups and things like that. And
Right.
I just, everybody else told me to do it. And I said, fine, I'm going to do it. I didn't believe it just like you either in the beginning until I started having people reach out to me and I had no clue who they were. And they acted like they were like a best friend of mine or something.
Yeah.
And that's to me, that's what building a brand is.
Yeah.
It's
The branding is huge, and I think if you your one takeaway from it, and
mhm,
this is my shift, right? Like, I mean, I'm not a guru or a public speaker or anything like that, but like if 700 people watch, that video as an example, and one
mhm,
person, got a little takeaway that maybe helped them, maybe
mhm.
close just one deal or come up with an idea to convert leads better, like I feel that I've helped, right? Like that's my
I got
personal
it.
opinion,
I'm
and
going to
there's
drop a big
probably
secret here.
probably
I'm
going
going
to
to
be
drop a big
like
secret.
haters and all that stuff, but like
Yeah,
if
I'm going to
if
drop a
you
big secret here because we get folks reaching out to us all the time asking us how they can convert listing booster leads or dead Zillow leads or old opt-in leads. I've talked to a couple LOs all over the country that seem to be doing an okay job at it. I haven't mentioned it much in this group. I don't talk to my personal teams about it much, and I don't mention it much in my coaching programs because the method that they are using to convert those leads requires energy and authenticity, and it can't be taught. I can't teach somebody to be themselves. I can't teach you to be you.
right,
All I can teach you to do is learn how to use this computer to record yourself, learn how to use Lion Desk to get the message out. And I've already admitted to you that I'm not the best person in the world at doing that. So I feel like I'm almost failing the people that lean on me for help because I don't know how to train them how to use Lion Desk as well as you do.
sure,
And you don't even do that. Your tech team does.
yeah,
And so people came on this call today and they thought they were going to see us maybe, showing some tech and teaching people how to integrate stuff. That's already there. We don't need to do that. You guys have all kinds of kick-ass training built into your website teaching people how to use the tech. Where our loan officers and real estate agent friends are stuck is they do not block the time to set up the campaigns and to record themselves on video and to answer the most common questions that their clients have and to think about what kind of messages they might want to share with their family and friends. They don't, and this is going to be big and bold, but I'm telling you, loan officers and real estate agents, you guys do not want to be yourselves. You want to be somebody else. Quit doing it. Quit being somebody else. Be yourself. That's how you're going to win at sales.
yeah.
If you would spend time being yourself with your clients, then you would start winning more. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to send all your clients messages as your kid's birthday, but if you have a past client database and there's some important things going on in your community and town, it's okay to message them instead of just talking to your kids and your wife and your dog about how excited you are to go to the Tigers game. How about you tell your past clients about that? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff is what actually works.
So it's
Oh.
funny, you touched on three things that I feel are really important, right? The first being the tools, right? Like learning the tools. Like if I give you a hammer, right? If you don't go out and try to learn it, or you don't go out and try to like learn how to really be good at it, you're never gonna do the 3 pound swing and get it in, right? Like
Mhm.
it's just never gonna happen, right? So like learning how to use a tool and spending the time to master your craft is really important. I came from using a different CRM, right? When I joined Lion Desk, and it took me a while. I had to learn, and I didn't send out text message for probably the first 35 or 40 days. I was like learning how to use the system, organizing it, putting my strategy into place and my follow-up process.
You just
And then,
talked to all the LOs out of signing up, by the way. Not
you
already
know,
sign up now. It's too
so
expensive.
like, I wanted to learn how to use a tool, right? And I'm not talking I spent 40 hours a week, right? And at Lion Desk, we eat our own dog food. We have we use our own product. Our entire company uses it for the sales and marketing process. The next thing was the actual, like, where was I going with that? There was another part that you said, that the connection point,
Oh
right?
yeah, well I was talking about converting cold
Like,
leads.
like
Yeah.
let's take Zillow as an example, right? Or one of the portals. Like, people often complain about how crappy leads are,
Hmm.
right? All the
Yep.
time. And the price is consistently going up because demand is there. People are spending money. And I know people that spend $10,000, $20,000 a month on Zillow leads and crush it, right? But they have a process in place, and they realize that even though that lead costs $10, $20, $30, right? People don't buy houses like they buy cups of coffee. But if you are able to get a phone number and an email, their thought is, if I just am constantly on them, right, and not being annoying, I will at some point either make a connection, they'll tell me yes, they'll tell me no, right, and they're going to be in my database forever. So I just need to be in front of them when they actually are ready.
Yep.
We were in New York, and this woman came up to me, or came up to us at an event, and they saw, with the line, this stuff on, and they're like, "You guys changed my business." I was like ready to give up, and we're like, "Well, tell us what happened." And she was relatively new in the business. Her first year, she closed like 3 deals, right? And then same thing, she wasn't getting much growth, so she got sold on buying Zillow and Realtor.com leads. She wasn't converting them. And what she did is she put all of those leads on a text message string only. So she was only dripping them with text messages. And it was her third and fifth text message that was converting at just a crazy rate. So it was like 1 in like 10 leads that she was getting an appointment out of. And this was her message. It was, "I don't mean to annoy you, but you filled out some information." And we started talking about that, and she says, what I think happens is, because these portals, as an example, are selling your leads to multiple people, they're getting inundated and hammered
Hmm.
by all kinds of different people the very first day, right? And then they're like, oh my God, like, they still have a life, right? And then the second day, and then it starts to taper off. And that's where she, like, poured it on strong, almost like guilting them. And she's showing us text, and it's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I've just been getting slammed with calls. Thank you for so much for staying on top of me," right? And she like screenshotted it and sent it. Like, those leads and Facebook leads and all these different leads, like, they're yours forever. People rarely change their cell phone numbers, and they rarely change their email addresses. So if you can just constantly be in front of them in one way or another, you
Well,
that you need to play the long game,
and
right?
like
Play the
like you
long game.
just said, I mean, it was the sixth or seventh text. Now, again, we didn't script any of this call today. We literally just met each other recently, and my partner TJ, who I really should have brought on this call, I'm sorry, buddy. He was doing a hangout on this in the Leads Academy just yesterday, and I swear you guys said almost the exact same thing, which was the amount of success that was coming from the sixth or seventh email, or not email, text, because everybody else had given up and nobody else was continuing to reach out. So um, the the message in that program and the message that you said are similar. It's the realtor that's reaching out. So for LOs, whether you guys have your CRM game figured out or not, teaching a real estate agent how to do this could literally change their life.
Yeah.
That was the most important message that I wanted to get to all you guys today, is that we as LOs perhaps are a little bit further ahead of the game in the CRM world. We do have some automations with a lot of our companies, but our real estate agents, most of them don't even have a CRM still. Literally, I would say it's got to be the majority do not have it, and they're not going to survive. There's no way they can compete with the automation that's headed their way without some kind of game plan to stay in front of people and to extract more from the contacts that they already have. And you
Yeah,
guys, I think, have one of the best platforms for a real estate agent, no doubt.
yeah. So I don't know how often you get to talk to people that have been in the business a long time. I'm super fortunate because I get to talk to, thousands of people throughout the year, in the real estate space that are killing it, that are brand new, like, all in every different level. And a handful of times a year, I talk to somebody who's been in the business like 30 years, right? And
Hmm.
I just shut up. I'm like, can you just talk to me for 30 minutes? Like, tell me how it was like when you first got in, right? Tell me. I was talking to this one lady, and she'd been in the business like 35 years. I think she's down in like Arizona, and she was telling me like a rock star agent 30 years ago, like would do like 5, 6, maybe 10 deals, right? Like 30 years ago. Like that was somebody who's awesome. And I was like, well, what was it like? And this was before like the listing book, right? Like the book that they would do with all the listings in it. This was pre that. They had these sheets, she was telling me, and they would fill out the sheet, and then the real estate agent would go office to office, right? And they would present their listing to the other agents. And then the other agents would be like, oh, I might have somebody, it was just a whole different process. And she kind of walked me through, where it is now. And she's like, if you're not doing 10 deals, a year, like at a minimum, like you're not even close to being where you should be, right? And it's because a lot of these things have changed. But the one thing that was interesting is how she was doing that presentation, right? Going door to door to door with that listing is kind of being done again, but it's being done in a digital format. So you're probably seeing on Facebook now these people that are doing the open house like Flickr videos, right? And they're targeting other real estate agents in the area on pre-listings and things like that. So it's coming 360. All this stuff comes 360, but it's just how it's actually being delivered. And it was just like crazy because she's telling me that, and I'm thinking like I see all of these videos now on Facebook of people basically presenting listings, right? But it's in a video format, and they're just able to target a lot more people, right? Whereas, let's just say 10, 15 years ago, people were putting them in those real estate books. Remember the real estate books where it's all the pictures of the houses, the agent page, right? It's all the same. It's just where it is. So if you can position yourself on the forefront of where that technology pivot is, that's how I think that you're going to advance your career and position yourself properly to be like the guy that used to own that book, right?
Yep, I agree. Now, I'm going to ask you a little bit about getting more information on LionDesk, but before I do that, I do want to share one story. I've had him on Hangouts here. He was going to try to join us today, but he's so busy. He's having a big party. His team has got as many applications as ever. But it's an LO who literally started LionDesk less than 2 years ago. I believe he started November or October. So he's sitting at about 15, 16 months. But it was a loan officer that used LionDesk and not necessarily a realtor. And like I said before, there's a lot of loan officer CRMs that are programmed out. LionDesk, you guys have some loan officer stuff that's not as programmed. The real estate agent stuff is a little bit more programmed. But as you and I already said, we're not huge fans of programming automation. We like to build our own stuff. But this particular loan officer really dove in and embraced it. He put his LOs on the team setup. He generated the leads. He forced the LOs to learn how to respond on time. And if they didn't, he assigned it to the other LO. What he did was he taught his team how to use the follow-up tools before he went to the real estate agents. Then what he did next was he had those agents come in, and he and the loan officers taught the agents how to do the follow-ups as a team. Now, each loan officer now has their own LionDesk account. They've got the agents as partners on their LionDesk account. And my friend Ian, I call him the evil tech wizard. What do you think he does? He fills the front end of the funnel for them. But everybody that I see teaching internet marketing and lead generation, that's the part where I think they stop. But Ian didn't stop. Now, I'm not going to say that I helped him much at all. I may have inspired him because I told him it was possible and I had this vision that this is how it should look. But he actually ran with it and did it. But the way that he did it was perfect because he made sure his loan officers knew the importance of the CRM piece and the follow-up piece, not only for capture, but for branding. Now, he's established and built his brand so well in a fairly mid-sized town, but it's a town that many loan officers on this call, would be identical to, that he has zero problem filling events, whether it's for consumers or real estate agents or business to business. He has like the whole town into CRM right now, and no one else can compete with him, and they're getting kind of pissed at him because everybody sees his logo, his video, his team's video. Well, how the heck did he do it? He had some opt-in tools like Listing Booster. He had lead ads. He had all this front end stuff that we all talk about running for the realtors and for the agents. But the piece that was missing is how the heck are we going to take all this data and build a brand and build a team and build a legacy? Well, the answer was, let's not do it as one person. Let's build an army of people that can do it, but let's have a central mission. And the central mission in this case was my favorite mission. Let's help my real estate agents be better at selling houses. So I'm going to help give them some extra leads. I'm going to teach them how to convert them. I'm going to help them convert them. I'm going to have team follow-up emails. And if my team doesn't know how to follow up, I'm going to fire that loan officer. And, well, not fire him, but take that lead away and give it to another one. And guess what? All the local realtors recognize their team. Oh, you're the guy. You're everywhere. Oh, you guys followed my leads. Oh, you guys help us generate leads. Oh, you guys teach us how to be better at all this stuff. Who wouldn't want that?
Yeah. So I know a couple.
This Lion Desk was the hub in this case. It wasn't necessarily all that training wasn't built into Lion Desk, but the capability was there. And if it hadn't had the video and the texting capability and the ability for the build out and the multiple, like the text email stuff that would go out back to back, all those pieces were what he was able to put in place. Now, he had some other training programs. He bounced ideas off of people like myself and TJ. He'd been in some higher level programs with other really big names. But at the end of the day, that tool was what brought it all together. And it's there. It can be built by anybody in this group.
Yeah. I think that for all the LOs that are here today, right? Like you want these real estate agents referring you business, right? Like that's a steady, predictable stream of income and people that should be in your A funnel, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that you're right on. I know a lot of mortgage brokers that actually go out and they're doing trainings at real estate offices on this type of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Talking about how to convert Zillow leads better, utilizing things like text to sell, short codes, which is something that we provide for putting on your sign riders for all of your listings. Mm-hmm. So instead of somebody going by the house, pulling out that flyer, looking at it, right, and it's all wet or whatever or faded, and then they throw it on the floor, putting sign riders on your properties using the short code, because then you're able to deliver not only like an e-flyer, but maybe a video walkthrough. You're also capturing a lead. So like an LO could put together a little, 30-minute talk on how to generate more, let's just say generate more leads from.
Ryan, you just talked about Listing Booster. Shh.
Something of that nature, right? Or whatever.
Dude,
whatever
it's there, man. We've had all these hangouts. These guys know this stuff. It's there. Yeah. That's not the challenge. Is the action steps.
Yeah. So I mean, like anything that you're doing, just go out there, just bring some value to your agents, and I think that you'll get a lot of business just from them if you're not worried about the other side of the business.
I dig it, man. So I had a lot of people that hung out. They didn't seem to ask questions. Maybe it's because tech evades a lot of us, or maybe we just did a good job. I don't know.
Or we're terrible.
It could be. Either way, a couple things. And I'm going to say this because I want everybody in this network to know that being social is important. And I just borrowed a lot of Ryan's time. Ryan is not a $25 a month CRM sales. I don't even know his name. I just met him like 5 minutes ago. Randy's.
That's all right.
Oh, I suck. I totally suck. That's the most embarrassing thing I've ever done in a Hangout, by the way. I have a good friend, DJ and TJ. I flip-flop their names, but that's understandable.
No big deal.
So I do want you to enjoy some Witch's Hat brew on me. You got to let me know. I'll figure out how to hook up with Jerry. We'll do some of that. And then, if you want to talk to Ian about how we use your product as an LO, I think it might be a good case study for Lion Desk, because I'm not sure that LLOs all over America are doing that. And the other piece I want to, is there are some folks in our network that do run large companies and are in a space where they may need. What's your threshold number? 25, 30 accounts? That's kind of what you generally
Yeah,
deal with.
that's
People
that's
that are.
typically where I deal with like people who have larger companies, C-suite, right? Like
Mhm.
25 to 50 is typically where. But I mean, like we have a Facebook page, we have an Instagram page, liondesk.com. I mean, it's a relatively inexpensive program. You can go check it out, like if that's what you're interested
It's
in.
25, 26, $27, right? Depending
Yeah, a
on the
month.
existing.
Yep. Yeah, like I mean, go check it out. Like if
Get the texture.
we have a lot of loan officers who use it. We have a lot of people in title who use it, and obviously a lot of real estate agents. We just did a real big mastermind with around 30 LOs that we picked out on crafting some of it so that we could have more drip campaigns and blended campaigns in there for the LOs. The system's already configurable. We use it to sell software, right?
Mhm.
So I'm sure that anybody who's in the sales and marketing space can absolutely use it for themselves.
Awesome, man. So if somebody is, is one, because I do have some folks that are like, hey, I want to get my whole company going on that. Flip them back over to you, and you'll let them know which resources to use, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I will.
Okay. So hopefully I didn't offend you so much that you will never ever do any kind of hangouts with us ever again.
I don't know what I'm doing either, right? This is all new. Every day it's something new, right?
Good stuff. Well, any last thoughts? Anything we missed?
No, man, I just want to, applaud you. Like, I know you take a lot of time to do stuff like this and try to bring value and try to bring education and things like that to your community, which we're a big believer in community, right? We have a private Facebook group of just clients of 7 or 8 thousand people, and community is a big thing, right? I think that we can all be better and we can all, learn from our mistakes and help others, guide others through. And I think that you're doing a really good job doing that. So thank you, and thanks to anybody who watched this. Like, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. We sometimes tend to ramble. I mean, we're like almost at an hour, but I'll make a YouTube on this. I'll get this out to you. Maybe I'll even edit the part where I couldn't get your name right,
Don't
and
worry
we'll
about it.
remember
Yeah.
that.
Now for every interview that you do or conversation, you're just gonna have a sticky note, have their name right
Oh
there
my
on the
God.
computer.
I give up.
No big deal.
I
Call
clearly
me
have worked
call
too
me
hard.
whatever.
Anyhow, I appreciate you, buddy. Thanks again. We'll talk soon.
Bye. Thanks, guys.